Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another very special episode of the show. I got two cool guys here, Max Boogie and Drop Dee. No, they're not Backman Turner Overdrive. They're Max Boogie Overdrive, otherwise known as Daren Ford and Jim Bacchi. What's going on, guys?
Nothing. Yeah, we are the other Overdrive band.
You're the other Overdrive, right? Not from Canada, though. Not from
No.
Canada.
Yep. No,
And
no,
not
not the
75 years
BTO,
old. Yeah,
not the BTO, the MBO.
there you
All
go.
the way.
The
Yeah.
MBO. So for everybody watching, we're going to get stoned again today because we're going to be talking about the brand new album from Max Boogie Overdrive. Stoned Again came out late last year. You should know it by now because I talked about it a lot here on the channel. We're going to talk about it some more, and I wanted to get the two driving forces behind the band on to talk a little bit about this album, the bands, why now, and I want to start with Jim because I've known Jim for a bunch of years now, and Jim Bacchi, ladies and gentlemen, is always busy with like 5, 10, 20 projects going at once. So when he came to me, I don't know, last year and said, hey, I kind of started up this like kind of stoner rock metal thing. I'd love for you to check it out. And I was like, well, now you're kind of talking my language because I love this style of music. And then a few months later, the CD's here. So why don't you guys talk a little bit about where the idea came to do something together? Because, Jim's got his foot in all sorts of other different things. You got Fuzz Bubble and Tikiyaki and Hitman. And so where did this all start? How long ago did this kind of come to fruition?
Well, it's funny because I've been using the name Max Boogie Overdrive for like at least 10 years. So I do a lot of music for like television and film and stuff like that. And so I have people that submit my music for various shows and things, music library stuff. And when you're submitting, they're looking for a certain, we're looking for garage rock or we're looking for heavy rock. Just having your name, oh, this is this song by so and so. It's a lot cooler if they think it's a band. So I made up a few different band names. For my more garagey 60s stuff, we call that the Obscurities. Then that's like, all my like really just kind of 60s garagey, because for a while that was getting a lot of placements, the Hives and things like that. So, but I started doing a bunch of instrumentals and some songs with singing, more 70s hard rock. And I came up with this name, Max Boogie Overdrive. It's actually, I had a band like 20 years ago that we played like stoner rock, 70s rock cover. We played like I'll Give You Money by Frampton and James Gang and stuff like that. And I used the name Max Boogie. And the singer used the name, he was my brother from another mother, Mondo Boogie. So he was Mondo and I was Max Boogie. And he was the singer and he would come out with a bottle of iced tea in a Jack Daniels bottle. And, it was fun. We played She by
Played
Kiss.
the part. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, it was really hilarious. So the name Max Boogie came out of that. And when I started doing this instrumental music, I used the name Max Boogie Overdrive because I thought it was a cool name for 70s, more my hard rock stuff. So if you look on like YouTube, there's a version of Van Boogie that's me singing and playing everything. And there's one other song called The Finding My Way, not the Rush song. And it's me singing. I kind of have like a Bon Scott type of voice, but I can't really sing more than one song in a show before blowing my voice out. So long story short, me and Daren have been friends a while. And last year he was over the house visiting because he still lives in Portland, but he would come down a lot. And we started talking about, I said, I would love to have a rock band that's actually in the same state as me. Cause like Hitman is New York, Fuzz Bubble's New York. Every time I want to go rock, I have to go 3,000 miles away on a plane and play. So Daren said, well, I got this buddy you should meet, this guy, Richard. He's a great guitar player, friend of mine. You guys would get along great. And we started talking and I said, because Daren's always played me his bands. I played Tikiyaki did a show with one of his bands. We had a Tiki versus metal show.
I think that's where the origins of the not Max Boogie Overdrive, but us collaborating together came. I put on a show for my 50th birthday called Metal versus Tiki. So we had Tikiaki 50 play with my old doom metal band, Ravine, and a bunch of other stoner metal bands back in 2019. We did a really huge show up here in Portland, Oregon. And it was just this great collaboration of surf and metal, and it worked really well. And I think from there, you got to see me as a singer, as a musician, in a very different element than when I was. And I think that's kind of where the spark of the idea came from.
Yeah, but I remember seeing his band and I was like, his band all played really loud.
You were
Like
loud.
it was a, not a
It's
giant, it
doom.
was a decent sized venue, but like they had like, 612, orange, like dimed. And I'm just like, Daren, I said, I couldn't barely stand in the room. It was so loud and I couldn't hear you sing, but I've heard the tapes and the recordings and I liked the way he looked on stage. I'm like, he's a really cool singer, and he'd come down and play me his various stuff he was doing. So one day he was at the house and we were talking about, well, I want a rock band in California for Christ's sakes. So I said, you know what? I got a couple of songs that you would sound great singing. I think it's in the style of what you like. I said, I really love Fu Manchu and I love old, 70s heavy Sabbath. I like stoner rock. Um, a lot of it sounds just like Black Sabbath. And I'm just like, some of these bands sound too much like Black Sabbath. I said, but I like Fu Manchu. I love like that, like drop D riff and all that. So I played him a couple things and he was like, yeah, this is cool. And I said, well, let's get you singing on these tracks. And he said, I've written some songs in this style. So it just kind of took, and we were like demoing songs immediately,
Yeah, back and
so
forth to
that's
each
kind of how
other.
it started.
Yeah, and we're just kind of improving and growing on them, and then we just started collaborating, connecting together. And a lot of ways we come from different schools and different worlds, but when we kind of met, we just really had a good balance together. And I got to tell you, the production was easy. The songwriting really flowed really well, and we were able to kind of get in and out and do what we needed to do pretty quickly.
What were the
Yeah.
first couple songs that you guys worked on together?
Suffer Sister.
First, Supper Sister was the first because it was done already. I just said, put the vocal on this. And Van Boogie, I said, put the vocal on this. And then he said, I have some songs. And I said, great. We sat together and he recorded them with his friend Mike
Mike, yeah.
from River City Ruin. We're playing some gigs with them in March. And he recorded with them and sent them to me. And it kind of went like that. And I said, oh, by the way, he goes, he said, I'll see if my friend Richard's interested, guitar player. And I said, I have a great drummer. I'll see if he's interested. Guy I share a rehearsal room with that I've known for years. And they were both like, yeah, this sounds really cool. Let's do it. So, and it was really quick. Let's record first. Cause I feel like it's really best to just get your stuff recorded and out there before you start trying to gig and get a following. It's
Have
not
a
easier when
product.
you have a record out. So let's make a record and then start to play the shows. That's kind of what we did.
And it's, I kind of like the format of how we do things is we don't sit in a rehearsal room with all the band members for hours trying to just crank things out. We get an idea, we get a riff. I go over to Jim's house or I go up to my buddy's Mike's house. We'll collaborate together, do some songwriting together, connect them together there, put out a demo, and then kind of throw it out to the rest of the band. And then kind of just continue to kind of produce it like that or pre-production. Then we'll go and do the actual production, listen to it over and over, and again, get into the rehearsal place. And then when we need to do a live show, that's when we'll do it. And to be honest, if you were to really put the band together, we've probably been together no more than 3 weeks when it comes to live collaboration and working together.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing.
We're older guys. We're all pros. Richard plays in like 3 different bands. So a lot of
Tom's
a
a
lot of cover
monster.
bands.
Yeah, Tom's a monster on drums. He's a great in the studio, really easy to work with. You tell him what you need to do, he just does it. And it's kind of where we needed to be in terms of writing and production and getting things done. I mean, it just really came together like that, the collaboration. And we play live. We do really well. We do great when we play live. And we get together when we have live shows, and we work on it that way. But we don't get together as a band a lot.
There's from the first time I heard this album, and even just listening to it again a little while ago before we started talking, there's a spontaneous feeling to the album. Like I get the impression that you guys had these ideas, you came together and you just knocked these songs out and didn't overwork the ideas. And I really love that about this album. It just has that immediateness. you listen to some really great albums that you can tell they spent 3 years in the studio putting all this stuff together. And it's intricate and all this stuff. I get the feeling you guys just came bustling with ideas. You put it down, you cranked out the songs, and they're all the better for it. It's just got this, it just grabs you instantly. And I think, again, sometimes the simplicity is best for songs, right? And these have great riffs. The vocals are awesome. The grooves are there, and it just really works. And that to me, that's the greatness of this album. That's why I go back to it over and over and over again, because it's like I know exactly what I'm going to get, and it delivers every single time, no matter how many times I've listened to it.
And Jim, I'll let you talk about this more, but the preamble when the band started that Jim came to me with the idea of making Max Boogie Overdrive into an actual band was the KISS model. And what's the KISS model, Jim?
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And we really
And you're right. This was
that.
very. It's. I'm sorry, Darren. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No.
what you described is how it. I mean, we did this really quick. We rehearsed. Once we got the songs kind of together, we played them a few times. Me, Daren, and Tom went in and just got like, let's get basic tracks. So we just kind of good. And like, even we had 5 songs ready and we were going to do Bomb Incoming. And Tom's like, I really don't know the song yet, but let's just bang it out in the rehearsal room the night before we went in.
Yeah.
And we went in and got it in like 2 takes. And he was just really pleasantly surprised. He goes, I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I'm pretty happy with the way it came. So it was pretty, especially in the drum department. Tom is a very spontaneous drummer. He doesn't play anything the same way twice. If you watch him in the video, he's just being Keith Moon and hitting stuff. He's not like playing his parts. He's really fun. He's a really fun guy, and he's a great drummer. And yeah, I would say more than anything, he is the real spontaneous element to this, because I kind of knew what I was good. Like I practiced my solos. And so that's less spontaneous, but the feel is definitely the spontaneity, I think, is from Tom personally.
Yeah, no, and I agree to a point, but also I think when you and I were collaborating and we were doing pre-production and even post-production, when we would get together, the ideas would just spill out immediately and we wouldn't slam out a million of them. We would just experiment. And as we did, we just would kind of build, especially like on Freakazoid. I mean, the solo era, which was just these 2 killer collaborations of solos, became a lot more heavy bass synth and synthesizers and explosions. And that all came up really, really quick. That idea of creating this atmosphere of war for that song. And so I do feel there was a lot of spontaneity, not only in pre-production, but also post-production with a lot of the work.
Yeah, it very, like you said, not a lot of overthinking. It's just think about it enough to like, yeah, that's cool. Let's do that. Oh, let's do that. And listen to it. If it works, we use it. If it doesn't, we try something else. But it was very spontaneous along that way as well. So yeah.
I think, Jim, if you remember, I'm sure you will, about a week after you sent me the CD, I think I sent you a message and I said, the only song that really deviates from that is Freakazoid, because that's the song where you guys like really stretch out. There's all sorts of cool psychedelic elements to that, which I'm glad you included that on the album, because I think it fits perfectly. This album is sequenced really well too. And I like how you got, I mean, right off the bat, you got The Devil Knows My Name and Suffer Sister, which are both so damn catchy, so heavy, but very straightforward. And then you throw us Freakazoid. And then you got Van Boogie after that, which as soon as I heard that after we did the Fu Manchu show a couple of months ago, I'm like, of course Jim would write that song, right? Of course. It's so perfect. And then you got Bomb Incoming, and then I love the back end of the album too. And Stoned Again is so crushingly heavy. I mean, there's like no let up on this album. How did Rick Labonte get involved with Bomb Incoming? I was very surprised to see that. That was kind of cool.
Okay, so I know Rick plays the harp, and that song has a very, like Daren calls it, swampy.
I like that
swampy. So in that middle section, I was like, it would be really just a little harmonica flourish would be cool. Through a bullet microphone, distorted, just a touch. And he sent me a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, Rick, I'm probably just going to use this one. He goes, whatever you use is fine. But I saw him play, in one of his videos, and I'm like, I should get Rick on this. It would be perfect just to have a little blues harp, just enough. Cause I know that you don't like harmonica very much. I'm not a huge fan of it. I like when Grand Funk does it, you know, in the early Grand
A
Funk
little bit for
records.
me goes a long way. Yes.
Yeah. And Rick is really good. So I said, hey, Rick. And he's like, of course, man. So I said, this is what I need. I need this trill right here to go along with my little guitar note. And that's it. And that's basically it's this much. But you know, I was happy to put him on there because you know, we met through this show and we're friends now. And Rick's a talented and a really great guy. So win-win, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you guys talk a little bit about I mean, I think I know a bunch of them, but can you talk a little bit about the influences of what makes Max Boogie Overdrive? I know you've got you know, Daren, I'm just meeting you for the first time, but I've known Jim for a while. I know a lot of what Jim likes from what he grew up listening to and things like that. But I know I hear certain things when I listen to this band, but I'm just curious where you guys are coming from. I want to hear it like from your mouths.
Jim and I have one thing in common, that is we have a love for Kiss, we have a love for Rush, and we have a love for UFO. And I think we talk about those bands the most. And yeah, and then not too long ago, I introduced Jim to Brant Bjork. He's drummer for Caius, drummer for Fu Manchu at one time, and now just a guitarist extraordinary. He also sang for this the Queens of Stone Age. You know, I mean, this is just a multi-talented person. And I think those bands have been a huge foundational influence for us, but also our love for Fu Manchu, I think definitely came out a lot in this album. And I come from a very different school of music. I'm more punk rock oriented, but also heavy rock oriented as well. So I introduced him to bands like Orange Goblin. You know, I think there's some COC, Corrosion of Conformity influences in there, some Down, other stuff, kind of heavier stuff I like. And so I try to bring that along as well in there, but also kind of try to bring our own impact, you know. And then my love for Gene Simmons, of course, and Lemmy. You know, I mean, it just really, really helped with the collaboration. So from my standpoint, that's what I see. Jim.
Yeah, me, I mean, like I said, when I first wrote like Suffer Sister, and I think the song that inspired me to write Suffer Sister was the what is the name of that Australian band? Wolf Mother.
Wolf Mother.
You know,
Yeah, woman.
woman. I'm
Yeah,
like,
woman. By
you know,
Wolf Mother.
again, I'm writing for music library. Like, what songs are getting placed? Like, Wolf Mother got a lot of song placements. For a minute there, they were like the band du jour, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. And like when the other band I was playing in with Tom, Peach Fuzz, the bass player, the woman bass player, Nicole, came into rehearsal one day and she's like from the Buzzcocks punk rock. And she's like, I like this band Wolf Mother. And I was like, I remember hearing the song. I go, Nicole, that song is Easy Living by Uriah Heep. That is basically Uriah Heep. And she's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is. It's they're basically doing Uriah Heep in the year 2000, whatever. And she's like, no, it's not. I said, yes, it is. So anyway, I was like, that's a cool song. I want to do. And Suffer Sister has that vibe. And the song, the title comes from the movie Dazed and Confused. I don't know if you've seen it. When Parker poses, Suffer Sister, Suffer. So that's where I was like, that's a cool title for a song. It's my favorite movie. So yeah. And then the rest of it is just me like really loving what Fu Manchu does with the really, you know, minimal, simple, crushing riff, like the most basic blues riff. Again, we talked about it on that Fu Manchu show. I just love how they just take the most basic riff and
make it sound enormous, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And make it sound huge. It's just like a bunch of teenagers in 1973 is what it sounds like. And I'm like, I want that. The cool thing I like about what we're doing, because you know, I've played metal my whole life, but the stoner scene, it doesn't have any of the costuming of metal. So like you go to metal and you see these, and it's horrible to say, but like I'm gonna be 61 years old, right? I don't want to dress like a metal dude at 61. I just want to dress like me, you know. And when you get to my age and you start to dress like metal, it's just kind of like, oh, kind of weird. Doesn't really work. And it just doesn't look. It just looks kind of like, yeah, you know, you should have stopped doing that 20 years ago, you know. So I
Jim, like
love the
3 years
fact that
ago, man, I got rid of every leather jacket I owned, and I was like, I of all this, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Just can't. I
right, it
still
just
wear this shit all the time and band shirts, but man, the whole everything
right.
else, I was like, yeah, just can't do
You know,
it.
Yeah,
I'm
and
hoodies, battle vest, and shorts. That's it, and the occasional trucker hat, and that is going to be me till the day I die. You know,
yeah, and
and
that's
but I
it's
agree. I mean, like, you know, there is an accostomy aspect to this music. It's very genuine. It's very authentic, and what you see is what you get. You know, in
right,
terms of this. So that was one thing we
right. So
definitely agreed on.
I do like that aspect of it. It's like these bands are basically kind of 70s metal bands, and even even they sound really had the really heavy ones sound new, but they don't look like they just look like dudes that like in the 70s that just grew their hair and wore jeans, and I like that
You show up
aspect
and you
of it.
play and you give it your all. You don't have to think about what you look like, how's my hair going to look, what am I going to wear, and all this other nonsense, right? Yeah.
No,
Right.
you're
So that's what I
absolutely right.
really like.
Yeah. And this renaissance that's kind of been created with a lot of doom and stoner and heavier music with, you know, thanks to heavy psych sounds and ripple music, you know, and volume records. I mean, these labels that are out there that are really just kind of reviving this renaissance. I think that it's really kind of connected with this younger generation as well. And a lot of these younger bands, not only are they've discovered these newer bands that are doing it, but now they're going back and rediscovering the origins of a lot of these bands. And that aesthetic, I think, has been carried, and that spirit of that aesthetic along with it. So it's just been really cool overall.
Right. I like the fact that you know, with the whole metal and looking metal thing, there's an age cutoff where it's like that, like we talked about, like I think I like about this the stoner culture of bands, um, is that there's no, and me and Daren talk about this all the time. There's no ageism. It's like, see the guy up there that's obviously my age or older. They got the big beard, and it's like, what are we supposed to do? Stop playing when we turn 55? Like, no, you could still rock, not look ridiculous doing it, hopefully, and into your older age. It's part of the reason I started doing Tikiaki, because it was like, okay, when you play that kind of jazzy lounge thing, you could look like anything and play that. And
Nobody cares.
there's no like, look at me, I'm still trying to rock out in my 50s. I like the lack of ageism in the doom and stoner thing. There's lots of young bands, but there's lots of older dudes. And it's just
Yeah,
like, hey man, it's kind of like the new classic rock.
we were excited when we went to the last Heavy Psych Sounds Festival to meet Geezer, you know, and there's a guy that's
Yeah.
our age, you know, and Brant Bjork
He's from
is
here, man. He
one of
lives
my,
he lives like
yeah,
2 minutes from me. Yeah, he's
yeah,
a good guy.
coolest,
I know.
kindest, most wonderful human being in the world, you know. But I mean, those are the bands that I get excited to see, along with the younger bands too that are doing it. But I mean, it's great that there's just such an eclectic age of people doing it, and I'm inspired by everybody doing it.
Yeah.
And that's been one of the cool
Yeah.
parts.
I saw a Black Sabbath tribute band here locally. I'd never seen them before, about a week ago at a brewery. And the singer was probably in his early 20s. The guitar player was probably in his mid 70s. The bass player was probably in his 60s. And the drummer was probably my age, in his late 50s. And
Yeah,
they were great. And they were great. Nobody cared, right? They just,
yeah,
all they wanted was them to deliver the songs. And that's what they did. That's what
yeah.
they
Right. And that's what I like about the scene, as opposed to like saying you're just like, well, I'm in a metal band. Then you have to look a certain way, and you gotta like keep your appearance, and this like, you know, Brant Bjork trio, Mario Lally is definitely older than me. And he's just like glasses, like this trucker hat. He's got this look with the Dickies jacket. And he plays his ass off. I hope you get to see them one
He
day,
plays just
because
like
that
Geezer.
rhythm section is amazing. The
Yeah, yeah.
drummer, he's a younger guy, and Mario, he's like a punk rock icon, like from the desert. Uh, so good. And it's like, you know, what if people like my age and that age, a little older than me, just decided, like, I'm too old to do this anymore? You would be not have all of this great music.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about this scene. I'm sorry we got derailed to
Yeah.
like talking about this, but
I just think we're seeing the value in people, and we're seeing the worth in what people can bring to the table besides the image. the history. One of the things I love about working with Jim is older than me. He has a lot more experience, way more experience than me in the music industry and sensibility and understanding and songwriting. And so I've got some wisdom here to kind of lean on when I don't know what to do or I need kind of a little more guidance, and being able to surrender that and feel good and feel safe about that and know that I'll get some great feedback. There's no ego that walks in when we work together. It's really just kind of like understanding we come from different backgrounds, but both backgrounds can just bring so much to the table in terms of our collaboration.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, just to kind of get back to like influences and a lot of the stuff that's on this. I mean, in the first song, Daren, I was like, okay, Gene Simmons meets Lemmy, love it, right?
Yeah.
Because to me, you got to have a little bit of a kind of like rough and tough voice to sing this kind of stuff, and I think it works perfectly. And then, man, there's just riffs all over the place on this album, and the grooves are just so heavy hitting. I mean, I'm hearing Sabbath, I'm here, and then you got what's really cool is mixing like Fu Manchu, Sabbath, Motorhead, and then the anthemic nature of those 70s Kiss albums. It's all
Yeah.
wrapped up in here. It's all wrapped up in here. And it's just, as a guy who listened to all that stuff and grew up on all that stuff, that's why, I mean, this took to me like instantly, like absolutely instantly. And I remember that, again, knowing Jim for a bunch of years now, your stamp is all over this, and I know what your influences are, and I'm like, oh, this is like the best thing you could have delivered. And then everybody else's contributions are amazing, and it's like, this is the kind of band I want to hear more from, like immediately. This is the kind of band I want to see playing here on the East Coast. This is the kind of band that I want to see at a Sea of Tranquility festival. And I think because I think anybody who's into heavy music from the 70s, the 80s, the late 60s, and today would enjoy this. And I'm sure live, you guys are probably a blast.
Thank you. So I do want to say one thing. The first vocal you hear on the record is me singing. So the first lines of Devil Knows My Name. Oh Lord, you pray for. That's me. And then Daren does the answer. He wanted us to do a question and answer vocal. So that's me kind of doing my James Hetfield. You meet for me, doing the cowardly line.
You know what's brilliant though, also about The Devil Knows Your Name? I love the fade up at the beginning because it reminds me of Hit the Lights from Metallica's first album, from Kill 'Em All. I was listening to it again, and I don't think I really ever honed in on it, but I was listening to it earlier today, and I'm like, wait a second, I don't quite remember it like that. I'm like, that's brilliant right there.
Yeah, we're going for that and Hell on Wheels. Because Hell on Wheels got that just killer riff and it just slowly just kind of lurks in, and we just wanted to build on that. So yeah, we were trying to kind of go for that atmosphere.
But Daren, what did I say to you? I said, let's fade it up like Hit the Lights, like the first Metallica album. It's exactly, you picked up exactly what was in my brain. I was like, let's do the Metallica fade in thing,
You're not going to get that past me forever.
That's so cool.
and then we would do the fake fade out on Stoned Again. And one of the people that did the radio, we were on some show in England last week, Stoned Again was, and he caught up on that and said, bringing back the old trick fade and fade out trick at the end of the record. And I love that he like caught that and said, bringing it back, because that's what we're trying to do.
So Pete, let me ask you something. So I had a very specific thing in mind for Freakazoid. So when we came up with that song, I said, I wanted to write my working man rock bottom. So long guitar solo thing. We were going to extend it live, but we haven't gotten around to that sort of improvisation yet. But I said, I want to have that song with the long lead break, the two guitars and everything. So that's what I was going for Freakazoid, that slow working man and then the fast part. So
yeah, I get that vibe totally. I get a little Frank Marino in there as well, because Frank Marino's stuff is really, Frank was never a metal guy. He was more like a blues rock psychedelic type of guy. So yeah, and that's why I think that song is perfect, because it's like the outlier among all the songs, but it really, really works. And I was kind of, 2 songs in when the first time I heard this album, I was like, oh, I hope they throw a little something like what I was expecting, and that was that song. Really,
wow.
No, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a
You know,
glorious album. I mean, are you guys already thinking of a follow-up to this, or are we too early yet? I know
oh,
it's only been a couple months, but
We've
we
literally
have
have,
songs.
yeah, go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
You go ahead. We have songs.
Okay.
So just yeah.
We have songs. We've got at least he's got about 4 songs going. He's got some demos he's already thrown at me. I've got 2 songs that I've got going and demos already thrown at him, and then 2 songs up here still that I want to sit down and collaborate with Jim on doing. So we basically have another record almost ready to go. And we're going to start, we were thinking about June, starting some
Yeah, we want to just
pre-production.
put some song. We'll do it the same way. Get them together,
Yeah.
get them, learn them quick enough to get in there and spontaneous, bang them out like 4 of them. You know, do work up the other 4, go back in. You know, just like one day. I think we did the drums in one day for 6 songs on this
Yeah, we
album.
did.
You know,
Yeah.
and
And then we got the other 3
everything else we
done
do
at the
here.
next one.
You know,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and the other 2 we got done in literally less than a half a day at
Yep.
Bruce's place. Yeah, so
Yeah, my friend
the
Bruce.
collaboration comes quick. So we're hoping, can't promise, but hoping to maybe have a new single out by fall.
cool. Wow, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
Darren, you
And
brought him
maybe
up.
some covers.
A cover too would be fun too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Darren, you brought up earlier in the conversation, Ripple Music, Heavy Psych Sounds, Stickman. I mean, there's all these labels. I mean, I would think any of them would be salivating to get a hold of a band like you guys. And
Yeah.
you would fit right in on any of those rosters.
Us too, and hopefully we will definitely get there. We've been working more on PR and just kind of getting our songs out there. And we've actually had a few bites from some record companies, and we'll probably get back to them soon. But the PR person we're working with, Us Them Group, a guy named David Clifford. He's just been phenomenal. Really has believed in the band. And Jim, why don't you tell him what happened on Apple Music? Because it doesn't really hurt to promo
yeah.
what's going on there. This has been
Yeah, he
great.
sent it to the Apple Music. I guess they have curators for their playlists, and he sent the Stoned Again. We decided on that as when we decided to pull the album and relaunch it for end of March, which is what we're doing. He said, "Well, let's go with Stoned Again as if that's a really." He goes, "That's a great first single if we're going to start up again." I said, "Well, we have the video for Suffer Sister, but we can just do that later." So he got it on the Stoner Doom and Sludge, and it ended up being the #1 song at the top of the list with War Pigs right underneath it.
War Pigs.
Wow.
Yeah,
High on Fire, Baroness.
right.
I'm
Doom
sitting there
at you,
going, what?
everybody. Way down the list. It's just like the very top of the list is. I think it's because of the title and the little Obama intro that I put on there. It's kind of and the nature of the song. I mean, I don't know why the curator picked that song to go first, but boy, I was sure happy about that.
Yeah.
So
Hell
you go
yeah.
to the list and it has our song first, like So we're really happy about that. We've been getting a pretty good reception. It's really hard. Like we're talking about record labels. Any of these record labels are not going to put their money down until they go to your Instagram and they see thousands of followers. They go to your YouTube and they see thousands. And it has so little to do with how good the music is and more about how well you've promoted your band and how many
That's
people
the way it
know
is
you.
today, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Peter, I got to be honest. I think that Jim and I have worked harder on just getting ourselves out there and promoting this on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads. I mean, we're everywhere, and using David as helping to collaborate with this. We've worked twice as hard on that as we have on the music. I mean, and I have to honest, it kind of sucks, but it's just the reality of what we're doing. But David did say to us when we did kind of get our first record deal at the proposal, he said, "Why don't we wait? I think I can work on getting you guys something better." So we're kind of holding up and waiting. I think the sophomore record is really where it's going to kind of come out a little bit more. But yeah, we definitely are still trying to work on probably in the future getting at least some distribution. We're having heavy demands right now for vinyl. That's the big one. Everybody wants vinyl, and we'd like to get some distribution with a record company to do some vinyl. That's probably going to be our next step.
Yeah, and we did the CD first because they're cheaper and it's good to have something to sell at shows. But also, I knew I wouldn't get a review on Sea of Tranquility unless I had something.
He told me that. That's one of the things he said. He said, "I want it reviewed on Sea of Tranquility," and I wanted it too. He said, "Dude, we got to make CDs," and I'm glad we did.
They're minimal investment, but I'm like, Pete's not going to review it if I just send him files, and Look, I know
I
that
would
the
do it for
SOT
Jim, but yeah, I generally don't. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, look, you like physical media. I mean, I totally get that. To me, it legitimizes a release. Lots of people could put their stuff on Bandcamp for free, but it's kind of the band putting their money where their mouth is. Like, okay, here it's actually I'm still kind of old school that way. I listen a lot on Apple Music, I do, but I still listen to physical media. I think it legitimizes your release. It's the difference between you and the guy put his song on SoundCloud, So, but I was like, this will be a great record for the SOT audience. And like again, thank you so much for saying so much nice stuff about it. I thought it'd be a good record for this audience. And they're like, okay, we got to make CDs. I gotta have a CD to send to Pete. So
Have you guys been selling a bunch?
we've been selling them, yeah, pretty good. I mean, we don't like have our own website yet, so you could buy it through my Tikiaki site for now until we generate. And the record is not officially out yet, even though we put, you can buy the CD, but once we're done with the whole promotional, I think it's a 3-month, we have David
Campaign.
for 3 months. Yeah. So the campaign lasts until March 29th is the official, streaming release where it's out on all platforms again and Bandcamp and all that. And then hopefully the CDs will come and eventually get vinyl. So that's kind of
And the places that and the places that have launched it, like Dr. Doom 666 is one place where it's been launched, the record, and a couple of other stoner it's gotten up in the high of at least like 7 to almost 8,000 views in terms of people listening to it. And for a first album where nobody still kind of really knows who we are, we're not doing too bad.
Okay.
Right.
And Dr. Doom, who he's a big fan of my old band Ravine, when I said, hey, thanks for posting, and he just said it's probably one of the best albums he heard for 2023. And hearing that from him was a
He
big
knows
deal.
his stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah, he knows his stuff very well. And he's a really, really decent, wonderful human being. So it was really cool to have him just even give us that feedback, which he didn't have to do. So we're very optimistic about it. And we've just heard nothing but really good, just great responses from people. We've actually asked people for signed photos and autographs they want for the rehearsal rooms, and again, a big demand for vinyl. So that's probably what we're going to start kind of focusing and looking on doing for the future.
cool. Sounds good. So for now, folks need to go check this out. Look for the relaunch coming in just a little bit, and hopefully we'll see some vinyl and more CDs and hopefully new music in the not too distant future.
Thank you.
So
yeah.
I'll drop
If you want to go get the CD, you can go to our Facebook page and there's a link there to order it. And we'll ship the CDs right out. We got them.
Yeah, please follow us on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or Threads or TikTok. We're on all of them. If you just type in Max Boogie Overdrive and even to Google, all of them come up immediately. We have a link tree on Facebook. We have a link tree as well on TikTok and Instagram, and all of them are there, including a lot of the PR and the press that we've been getting. All those links are on there, as well as where to get our merch.
Cool. I'll try and drop some links down below in the video description here too, so this way
Thank
it's
you.
easy access.
Okay.
Right.
I do
here
want to
from-
say a quick, sorry, I just want to say a quick thank you to Eric SOT's Eric Porter for giving us a great review on the website.
Yeah.
So Eric, thank you again. He's always been really kind to me, and I
Eric's
appreciate everything you and Eric have done in SOT. And
Well, you said it yourself,
Yeah.
Jim, a couple months ago. We are like a family here on Sea of Tranquility for sure. And all of us feel that way about each other. So always happy to do whatever we can for all of our family members. And continue.
I personally appreciated your review and Eric's review. It was just beautiful to see and hear two amazing music aficionados just really kind of get what we're trying to do. We just felt heard in that moment. So it was great.
Very cool. Yeah, I love the album. So
Thank you, man. Hey, is that a 335 behind you?
it is a Sire Larry Carlton 335.
Oh, who knows? Okay, I was wondering because somebody told me about those Sires. They're real nice. I heard.
I just got it, Jim.
I actually got a 335 yesterday.
Oh wow! Okay.
I traded my Les Paul because I never played it really for a 330 I was telling Daren last night. I'm so excited! I finally got a Tobacco Burst ES 335.
Oh, there you go.
Beautiful.
Yeah. they're so pricey.
Yeah, but I heard that
I've-
those sires are real nice.
fraction of the cost of a Gibson, and everything I read is that they're better than an Epiphone, and so far so good. I really like it. Sounds great. Neck is amazing. It's not heavy.
You got to play Anthem on that thing.
Yeah, I know.
That was
Yeah.
cool, man. That's a tricky riff to play.
It is. It is. The timing of it is wild. Yeah, it's
7/8 or something.
I just got done with Getty's book too, like literally this morning, and I'm like, oh, just been listening to Rush so much lately. Love
Yeah.
that.
Me
Yeah.
too, man.
Have you watched his documentary, Our Bass Player's Human Too?
No, I need to
Oh,
see.
do yourself a favor. He just travels to famous bass players' homes and just sees them there, stays the night at their house, has dinner with them, and just follows them around to see what their lives are like when they're off stage. He did Les
It's pretty cool.
Claypool, and it was really, really great. And I just absolutely loved it. And that one was very touching because they had some tributes to Neil Peart in it as well. So it was just really, really heartwarming. So if you get a chance, check it out. It's a
Yeah, I
great
got it.
documentary.
I gotta watch that. Yeah, that's Rush is such a great band and so special to so many of us. You know? So,
My favorite.
all right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together, all the damn time.
All
Please
the
go
damn
support Max Boogie Overdrive. Stoned
you.
again. You will love it. If you haven't heard it, please go check it out. And I want to thank Daren and Jim for joining me today. We will see them back here again on the channel. And of course, Jim, you can catch him almost every Hudson Valley Square show, right? So till then,
Yeah.
take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. Take
Thanks,
care.
guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.